Welcome to Indiana Basketball Weekly on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The Indiana Basketball Weekly show is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. I'm your host for the Indiana Basketball Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now I want to welcome in my co-host, former Indiana Hoosier on the 1981 National Championships team, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, Mike. Good to hear from you today. Doing great. I'm really excited about the IU's basketball game against Seton Hall. We'll get into that, I'm sure. But I got a question for you. Found out today was Mike and Mike's last day on ESPN. Should we be sending one of our audition tapes up there?
I mean, we could fill half of that at least. We're Mike and Steve.
Mike and Steve, they wouldn't have to change all the billboard, you know.
Yeah, we could start doing a daily show, hell.
So if we get people tweeting back and saying how much they like our program, we can set it up there and say, hey, you know, we got more followers than Stephen A. Smith. So there you go.
Does Stephen A. Smith have followers?
I don't know what Stephen A. Smith has. He has a bad hair day or something. I don't know, but he's fun to listen to.
Yeah, I could do without him or Skip Bayless. But
there you go. Yeah.
We're not
how
as
about the
annoying as
Hoosiers,
them.
though? How about the Hoosiers against Seton Hall?
Hey, and the thing we talked about the last show was the thing that we wanted to see was the effort. And I think that we definitely saw the effort there. They were a lot more aggressive team, and you had to be pleased with that. I know I was watching it.
I measure games, especially at this point in time, not so much by wins and losses, because these wins and losses, while they're glamorous for recruiting and they're nice on the RPI, they don't carry a lot of clout unless you're playing a very highly ranked RPI team. So for the lower ranked teams in the dance. But what I look for right now is improvement in all the fundamental skill sets of the game, seeing daily improvement. But mostly what I want to see right now is emotion and tenacity and just a willingness to get after it with people and leave it on the floor. And the marked improvement that I saw of that from the Howard game or even from the Indiana State game was just monumental to me personally. I really think this team showed us all that it's in there. It's in them. And now all the things that I think need to happen, it makes it easier for those things to happen now because we showed we have the ability and tenacity to hang with these teams. And I think that, truthfully, that I really think that Indiana hung with Seton Hall for 40 minutes. You know, we didn't win the game. We lost by, I think, 14 or 16. But we never really were getting outclassed on the court, I felt. We were out-talented, and we were out-seniored, meaning they had more tenure than we did, and they had a little bit more talent than we did. But I can't say that I can't measure their effort any greater than I can measure our own effort.
Yeah, and I think the big thing here was in the first half, I think Indiana got the game played at the pace they wanted, which was a fast pace. And then I think when you transition to the second half, I think the experience of Seton Hall kind of kicked in, and it's a lot easier to slow a game down than it is to speed a game up. And I think Seton Hall just kind of imposed their will on the Hoosiers in the last 10 or 15 minutes of this game.
I agree. Even in listening to the broadcast on Fox Sports 1, the announcers were saying how impressed they were that Indiana was pretty much controlling the tempo in the first half of the ball game. And that was really becoming very frustrating to Seton Hall, and I could see it. And that's why the game virtually was tied, or we were 1 point down at the half. We were controlling the tempo. Our turnover ratio was down now. There's two types of turnovers in my book. There's a stupid turnover, like dribbling the ball off your foot, or throwing a ball somewhere where you think somebody is without looking to see if he's there. Then there's what I call turnovers to make things happen. And I'm not that inclined to be that against people at this point in the season to be making turnovers trying to make plays happen. That's okay. This is a good time to experiment with that and see if you can get that lob pass down, see if you can get the shovel pass behind the defense in there. Now's a good time to try stuff. And a lot of the mistakes and turnovers Indiana was making, because their intensity level's up, were turnovers trying to make things happen. And I was good about that. And even listening to some of Coach Miller's radio show, he spoke to that as well, that he felt we needed to cut down. He called what he called high-risk, high-reward turnovers. I'm inclined to say let's make some high-risk, high-reward turnovers right now for two reasons. One, it builds confidence if you make it. And two, it teaches you whether that play is doable or not. So
yeah, and you got to look. they allowed 21 points on 18 turnovers, which has got to be cleaned up whether they're aggressive plays or not. But the thing we talked about that concerned you the first couple games was the lack of any kind of offensive continuity. Did you see anything that would make you think that that's starting to turn around now?
I paid very close attention to that, and I think the first play they ran was a set play. We got the tip. We came down, and the very first I said, that's a set play. They just ran a set play, and we got a wide-open shot underneath. I think we missed the layup, but it was a back cut coming in down from the right side down in, and we had a wide-open turnaround bunny layup. And, I mean, it got defended, but it was a set play, and it worked. And it worked fabulously. Tying right into that, I think that we, against Seton Hall, we didn't make the three-point shot our offense. It became part of our offense. And that's okay. With a 22-point, three-pointer or 19, I'm not sure how far it is even out. But I know it's closer than the NBA. But it's got to become part of your offense. But in the Crean era, it was our offense. And I think I got a feeling Coach Miller had a real talk to the team about that based on the performance against Seton Hall, because they took threes, but they were kick-out threes more than they were, let's just never let the offense penetrate past the free throw line. There's a big difference there. Our dribble drive penetration was a lot better. Our inside play was better, which made the defense collapse in. And then we had the kick-out three, which is what you want, because then you've got a guy in position, you've got him set up, and you've got him, with good footwork and really release the ball and just take a good three-pointer rather than just let me get a foot away my guy, then fire this up on the run. So I really like that. But the set offense, the motion offense that they were using, I say motion, the fact that they were creating a motion in their offense was very pleasing to me on the offensive end. And I think that's what kept them in the game the first half. I think your assumption is right. In the second half, with the experience that Seton Hall had, they were able to gain control of the tempo of the game and probably took Indiana out of things a little bit. But that's to be expected when you're at that age. So, they're a young team. They're going to make those kind of mistakes, but they're going to learn from that. So I think the Hoosiers learned a lot this game. Learned a lot about themselves, learned about their capabilities and what they can do, and what they need to function and work on, what's going to work for them, what they need to improve on.
All right, and then we go to the defensive side of the ball, which was something everybody was excited about Coach Miller coming here because he's had some really good defensive teams at Dayton. Still, the three-point line was a problem, giving up 9 for 17 three-pointers. The other thing that I think was a problem was the problem stopping dribble penetration, which led to a lot of more open three-pointers. What was your take on the defensive side this week or this last game?
I think you hit the nail on the head 2 times there. I think, one, in this day and age in college basketball, there's so many talented Steve Alfords out there that can drill a three-pointer. You're going to have to learn to step your defense up on the three-point arc. Teams that want to rely and pack it in and just play an inside post defense are going to get beat because there are just too many 40% three-point shooters out there now that can do it. Every team's got a couple, and those kids work on that stuff now because that line is there. Once that line is drawn, people learn that becomes their foundation for where they want to be shooting the ball. So Indiana's going to have to keep pushing their defense out, and learn to guard that. Inside play, again, in his radio show, Coach Miller talked about the fact that their defensive ball positioning inside was not what it needs to be. And I know when I was at Indiana, we had 2 principles, man-side defense and ball-side defense. And it was a premise cut down on a line up the middle of the court, right down the middle from basket to basket, going long ways, and then right across the free throw line. And based on where the ball positioning was, you were either on man side, which means that the ball is on your side of the court, you're getting up and you're guarding your man tightly and trying to deny passes. If it's the ball's on the opposite side, you're on the far side of the court, you're in what's called ball side held position. And I didn't see a lot of that. And I think that's something I know Coach Miller talked about that in his radio show. That's something he really wanted to harp on and something I noticed and something I always look for defensively. So ball positioning has got to be critical for them defensively. They've got to fill the holes. They cannot allow the dribble drive penetration to occur. And that falls back on our guard play, which while we talked about that being the strongest part of the team we thought coming into the season, so far to me really the guard play has probably been the weakest part of what I've seen about IU in this improvement phase in the last couple of games.
Yeah, and I mean, in college basketball, At least most times when I was growing up, the team with the best point guard was the team. I mean, 1981, Isaiah Thomas. I mean, you could talk a little bit about what he meant to the team, especially offensively and setting up the offense.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, people talk about, big guys dominate games. It's not really true anymore because of the three-point shot and because of the shot clock. It's the point guard that controls the tempo of the game, controls the game. And if you have an Isaiah Thomas quality player, you're going to really be able to control the game from many different faucets. In terms of, I know we had a joke that when we were practicing with Isaiah, you always kept your eyes on him. Otherwise, you would end up with Spalding planted on your forehead somewhere, or whoever's making the game ball these days, because he would find holes and he was always penetrating. And Isaiah's first premise, and any point guard's premise should be to penetrate, to pass. So as you penetrate and cut through the front line of the defense, all of a sudden now you've got a 4-on-3. You probably passed at least two people by penetrating in. Now you've got the advantage on going to the offense. And a good guard will get in there, and his first goal is to pass. So penetrate, pass, penetrate, pass, penetrate, pass. Bigs get set up in position, and your wingman come and you kick out. You got your guys out of the corner ready to kick out for the three. So you're absolutely right. It's a great observation on your part, being a football guy, that you can recognize how important a point guard is.
Hey, what's that supposed to mean? I used to play basketball. I'm from Indiana.
Not everybody from Indiana is a good basketball player. They may have played, but not good basketball players.
Oh, I could play.
So we won't go there now.
Come on down. I'll show you. You don't like playing people from Aurora, Steve.
I have no reason to go play Rising Sun again. They did me good one time. That's it.
It was Aurora. Don't lose the name there.
But you're exactly right. And we're going to have to step up our guard abilities. We don't have any real leadership out there. I'm still not seeing any form of leadership on the court at all. Newkirk and Johnson, those guys, they have got to step up, and they've got to take some leadership. Everybody may be waiting on the return of Colin Hartman, but I don't know that Colin's a natural leader on the court. He is in the locker room. He is in front of a camera, but I don't know that he's a natural leader because he just isn't going to be able to control the ball enough. You look at the great leaders for Indiana, the Quinn Buckners, the Isaiah Thomases, the Steve Alfords. Those kids had the ball in their hands the bulk of the time. You want your leader to have the ball. And right now I'm not seeing anybody up front in the backcourt that's craving to get the ball in their hands to do anything other than fire. So I'm a little disappointed in the backcourt in terms of their growth and development as in relation to the inside play, to our offensive mobility now. And, we're getting better defensively, but we still have a long way to go defensively. And what this showed me was it put a little bit more faith back in Coach Miller that he is focused hard on defense. It's really primarily what he talked about, and it's probably where, I saw as good of improvement as anything from the team, from Howard into the Seton Hall game. Inside play, we battled. We just didn't help, and we just got out-physicaled. I mean, they're just bigger and stronger than we are.
But the good thing about that, and I know we talked about this off-air a little bit before, that this Seton Hall team is just a bigger, stronger, quicker, better version of Indiana State. And the Indiana State game, as we know, IU was out of that game in the first 5 minutes and never could fight back. So the one good thing in here is we played a team that is very similar to the Indiana State team that blew us out, only they are physically better, and Indiana was able to stay in the game with them for 30, 35 minutes.
I agree. I agree entirely. I mean, the marked improvement from our ability to compete for 40 minutes was so dramatic over the Indiana State game. Like you said, we were never in the Indiana State game. They took it to us right in the beginning. We were like deer in the headlights syndrome all over. But I never felt that we were what I would call blown out of the game against Seton Hall. That game was close enough until the end. 2 or 3 turnovers, 2 or 3 hits and 3-pointers. We're back to a 3 or 4 point ball game.
Or make some free throws, Steve.
Make some free throws. I mean, you could see the glaring opportunities we had to create an opportunity to win that ball game. And we did. We never had that against Indiana State. We never had that. But we did have it until the end, until, it just got down to the end. And I think the Indiana, still young kids are going to realize when it's time, okay, we're beat. But I hope they took out of it. I think even Coach Miller said, again, from his radio show I listened to, that this was the first time they had a happy halftime in the locker room. And trust me, I know about unhappy halftimes in locker rooms.
Have you ever had a happy halftime at IU, Steve?
Yeah, the last one I ever had. Because I knew I didn't have another one coming after that one. No, I don't think there was ever a happy halftime with IU. But then Knight was a perfectionist. So unless we played the perfect first half, we were never going to have a happy locker room. Again, I go back to my mentality is a lot like Knight's. I don't really care what the score is. I care about how well are we playing to the potential of what we have, to play with. And I think that the potential, the ratio of ability, the way we played and our potential to play against Indiana State was atrocious. Against Seton Hall, I thought it was outstanding. I thought we played probably as good as we could expect or hope Indiana to play at this point in the season with a new coach and personnel that the coach didn't bring in on his own that are still trying to learn his system. So I'm just gave me hope for things to come. Does it mean we're going to beat Duke? No. It doesn't mean it. Do I think we have an opportunity to compete against Duke now? Yeah, I do. I think we can compete against Duke. And then if you can compete, you can win. Anytime you can compete, you can win. You know that.
Yeah, and the goal is this. The goal is not to be able to beat Duke in a week and a half. The goal is to win against games and get the opportunity to beat Duke in March.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's exactly right. Everything is building a foundation right now to get to March. And also to get into the Big Ten, because the Big Ten is when the games, really start to count. Coach Knight's season started in the first Big Ten game. That's when his season started. That's when he started really.
Let's talk about that real quick. When you played at IU, usually there wasn't the first Big Ten game till after New Year's Eve, maybe before. Yeah. But now you've got Michigan December 2nd. I mean, how does that change how you get your team ready? I mean, does it heighten how quickly you have to do this now?
Well, you have to remember, too, we weren't allowed to start official practice until, October 15th or something like that? Now these guys have been together all summer long. I mean, so that shouldn't be that big a factor to me.
Yeah, when you played, wasn't it you could have an open gym, but you couldn't have a coach there or something?
There's allegedly no coaching going on back in my day. Although every once in a while you'd hear, Risley, that's an NFW pass. Risley, you know what an NFW pass is? Fill in the blanks. You can fill in what NFW.
Well, that's not really coaching, though. That's just ripping on you.
That's just ripping on you, I guess. But the NCAA would see that as coaching. So, but I think that's not an issue to me because their preparation time is actually much greater team-wise with instruction than it was when we played. And I think that I said this from the first game. What this team needs is on-court experience, playing against somebody other than themselves in practice. It's brutal playing against your teammates every single day. I mean, you get tired, you get hurricane, you get hurt, you get frustrated with each other. It's just you see the same face every single day. It's why you have such high regard for anybody who stays married 33 years. I mean, it just gets difficult to get up for it every single time. And you're facing the same team. So getting in a game situation, seeing different tendencies, seeing different players, seeing other things happen, that's where you're going to start to see the growth and progression of the team. You got a different measuring stick. And right now the measuring stick took a big leap from Indiana. I'm going to discount the Howard game. It's just a organized scrimmage basically that didn't go real well. But from Indiana State to Seton Hall, we're talking about same built teams, I thought we jumped up the measuring stick quite a bit.
All right, Steve, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take a commercial break so we can check out our sponsor, MyBookie.ag. We'll be back with a quick preview of the South Florida Bowls coming up on Sunday night at Assembly Hall.
Hey, Puckheads, this is Patrick.
And Jason.
From the Puck Guys podcast at the Grueling Truth Network, and we're here with one simple message. If you're watching the games, it's time to start making money.
The Grueling Truth has partnered with MyBookie.ag, an industry-leading sportsbook website who reminds you that where you bet is just as important as who you're betting on. And that's why The Grueling Truth urges you to check out MyBookie.ag.
In addition to the usual thousands of odds, money lines, proposition bets, and futures offered on MyBookie.ag daily, they also have in-game live betting and a mobile site that makes wagering on the go easier than ever. So join now, and MyBookie.ag will give you a 50% bonus on your first deposit of up to $3,000 in extra cash. Just enter the promo code TGT50. That's TGT50 to take advantage of this offer. Where do they got to go, Jay?
That is a smart-looking question, Pat. They need to go to visitmybookie.ag, courtesy of the Grueling Truth Network, and enjoy your winning today.
MyBookie.ag. You play, you win, you get paid.
All right, guys, we're back on the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show, brought to you, of course, by MyBookie.ag. Make sure you check them out. You can click through on thegruelingtruth.net. Go directly to their site to bet on the Indiana-South Florida game on Sunday night. South Florida comes into Assembly Hall with a 2-1 record, close wins over Florida Atlantic and Stetson. They lost by 10 to Morgan State. They're a team that doesn't have, near the ability of an Indiana State or Seton Hall. They're probably more on the level of a Howard. But I think that with that being said, Steve, I think that's why this is a big game, because anybody can get up to go play Seton Hall on national TV in front of a big, loud crowd. The difference a lot of times in your season is what you do in games like this, especially with a young team.
Boy, I got to tell you, Coach Knight would have liked you in press conferences, because you ask intelligent questions and you point out insightful things. And so I think Coach Knight would have really enjoyed having you in one of his press conferences. So just kudos to you. In regard to South Florida, and you're exactly right again. The opponent this week is not necessarily South Florida. That's what color uniforms are going to wear. And certainly they are an opponent that you are keeping a score. But the opponent is how well can they measure up to play to their ability again. And how much achievement can they accomplish to set a new baseline for how they played against Seton Hall, and to fill that foundation in with cement and really cement that as the base floor of where they're going to go this season. So if I know Coach Miller and I know what kind of coach he is, he's talking to him right now about sustaining effort, about not necessarily about defensive principles, or those are what's going to help sustain the effort, but really not about personnel in the other team as much as he is talking about sustaining the effort that they showed against Seton Hall. And that's just absolutely critical now for them to go into what is an early start of the Big Ten season, as we talked about in December, because he's got to be pointing to that time frame right now, is he's got to be hitting on 4, 5, or 6 good cylinders by that point in time. He's got to get his guard play in check. So right now, if I was sitting in the locker room, I'd be talking about, look at the effort, watch the film, watch us, watch what we did good, and point out the turnovers, the silly turnovers, the free throw shooting, the not being in the right position on defense, and those are the fundamental flaws you've got to improve upon, but you've got to also maintain everything you did well. You ran an offense, you cut well, you manned up defensively good, one-on-one, and don't let that slide. Just focus on the other things. You have to bury that, put that down into the ground, let it grow roots, and then start building on the rest of the things we need to work on. And that's the measure by how I think we're going to talk about next week when we come back after the South Florida game.
Yeah, and the thing I want to see outside of just the effort is the worst thing I think a team can be called is soft. Now, to me, there's 2 ways to be soft. One is effort-wise, which I question a little bit less after this last game. But the other way to be a soft team, in my mind, is with your mental toughness. And what I want to see is I want to see a team that comes out and gives effort, but they don't turn the ball. They don't dribble the ball off their foot. They don't make stupid passes. And I think mental toughness, is a huge thing into being a really good basketball team. And I think the perfect example of it would have been the 81 team where, would you guys lose 9 games that season, most of them early on in the season, and then the team completely flipped the switch at one point or another. And I just think mental toughness is a huge thing here.
Yeah, right on. We were 7-5 actually going into the Big Ten season. We ended up 14-4 in the Big Ten. So we ended up losing 9 games. But there definitely is just an unwillingness to be beaten, to be able to grind. And, I call it on the golf course grinding. There's days I get on the golf course and, I can't get the ball out of my sight. But I'm not going to quit. I'm going to grind. I'm going to keep working. And I'm going to change my mentality. And I'm going to keep a positive approach on things. And it wears other teams down. I've always told people when I've spoken about Indiana basketball in our heyday and in '81 on my team I can speak to that I always felt at the start of the game, the score was 10-0 when we tipped off, simply because people knew how mentally tough Indiana was. They knew that they weren't going to beat us by us. They knew we were not going to beat ourselves. That if they were going to beat us, they were going to have to play their perfect game and come in and beat us. That the teams that were back to 76, 81 in that era were just so mentally tough teams that they found ways to win. Champions find a way. Champions find a way. If you're not shooting well today, outside we're going to bang it in. If the man-to-man defense, we just outman, we're going to zone. We're going to pull back into a zone. And people talk about Knight always playing man-to-man. Our defense was really, truly, if you looked at it today, you would call it a matchup zone more than a man. We all had assignments. We all had players we were responsible for. But the way Knight's defense was set up, we talk about man side and ball side, it was pretty much a matchup, be in the area, zone-type defense. Always a outside defense. But that's just the mental toughness. And people knew that they weren't going to beat that defense. So they're going to have to do something spectacular to play. So that's something we want to see Indiana do is get mentally tougher. There's lots of ways to do that. I have no issue with just smacking somebody. The type of player I was, I'd come out on the court and I'd let people know I was there. Magic Johnson, when I guarded him 5 times in college. And he knew that I was guarding. He knew it on the first foul. The first foul was a gift to Magic. Like, I'm here. You're going to earn your 20 points tonight. So Indiana's got to get back in there. But they're young. They'll get there. And then, that playing a tough game like they did, winning one of these somewhere down the road for the Big Ten, gets that mental toughness, gets that confidence up. Confidence boosts everything. So let's watch that. But again, I go back to the very first comment we made. The opponent here this week is themselves and their ability to play to their level of ability they have as a team, and continue to become cohesive as a team, find stronger guard play, and find leadership. Those are the things that I want to see Indiana. We'll come back and talk about that we improved in those areas and maintained our baseline on the areas we did well against Seton Hall.
All right, so now we get to the point where you make a prediction. My prediction would be I expect Indiana to win this game. I expect them to win it by 20 points, but I'm not extremely confident on it from just the first 3 games I've seen, even though I have more confidence now than I did before. What's your take on this? What do you think the end result will be?
I expect Indiana to win the game. By how many points? I don't know, because so much of that's relying on shooting percentages. This is a young team that they have not demonstrated to me a consistency in shooting and shot making yet. So they could win by 5. It could be a good game. They could win by 30. It could be a good game.
But if they win by 5, I don't think they played well. From looking at South Florida, if this is a 5-point game, that's a disappointment to me.
Well, it would be to the fans, sure. But if I see everything else that I want to see, if I see the growth and development, I see them stay with their foundation, see them running offense, and I see them helping out better on man defense, making a good transition, controlling the tempo of the game for 40 minutes rather than 20 minutes, doing all the things necessary they need to be doing, and they shoot poorly, and they win by 5 to 7 points. But yeah, they've done everything else well. At this point in the season, Mike, I'm happy. I'm really happy with that. So I'm not worried about point spreads at this point. It's not important. It's not relevant. What's relevant is growth.
See, I think it almost is. I think with a young team that doubts themselves, that they need to come out and make a statement at some point, because the only way you get confidence is to be successful. And if it's a 5-point win, even if all those things happen, they just didn't shoot the ball well, they're still going to have people on campus talking about it. Well, you guys don't look that good. What they need right now, I think, in these next 3 games leading up to Duke against Arkansas State, Eastern Michigan, and, of course, the South Florida game, I think they need to develop some belief in themselves, but more importantly, each other.
That's why there are fans, and that's why there are coaches, and there are players. Some people just measure the success of a game based on the outcome of the score. I don't do that.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about. What I'm talking about is with the young team, they hear the fans and the press, the media.
Your theory might hold some truth against Seton Hall and Duke. You want to feel real good if you're in that game at the end. But against South Florida, I can tell you right now, Knight we could win by 30. We get our butts chewed the worst of the season. We could win by 5, and Knight would come in and say, guys, you did everything I wanted you to do. You showed improvement here. You did this thing good. You did that. I don't give a damn about the outcome, how many points we won by. A win's a win. A win's a win. And this team needs to just keep winning. And
I think the key there is this. I think if you've got a team that has not played well and they get their ass kicked, a lot of times the worst thing you can do is go yell at them because chances are they were trying. They just didn't get it done. So sometimes you need to build a team up that way too.
Well, based on your theory, Knight was the worst coach in college basketball of all time.
No, it's just this is the thing. Every coach is different, and the key to being a great coach is to know what makes each individual player tick, I think, and to be able to handle them differently to get the most out of them, and then collectively they come together as a team. You like that speech?
Well, yeah, except the flaw is eventually you want the team to figure that out for themselves and not have to coach. I mean, the best coaches in the world are the coaches that don't coach because the team's figured it out.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I mean. You see what makes somebody tick, and then when you can figure this out, everybody is on the same page.
I think Indiana's going to win the ball game. I'm not concerned about how many points they win by. Okay, I'm concerned about if they're going to be able to sustain their offensive sets in the game. They're going to stay in control and tempo and not think they're going to go back and playing Howard again. Or it's almost like I wish we were playing another tough team as opposed to going and playing South Florida. I wish we were going to play a Big Ten game right now, a game that mattered, because now is the perfect time to imprint that into their heads. Right now is the perfect time to put that in. But now we're going to go back and play a weak team. They're going to breathe a little bit, and hopefully Coach Miller will keep their intensity level up. And maybe it's a good opportunity for him to win by 5 and have Coach Miller chew on him a little bit, and just get him prepared. Get him prepared. Like to me, this game's a win-win. If they do everything they should do and keep the growth, I'm really happy. If they fall back a little bit, then Coach Miller's got every opportunity to rip into them and say, look, you showed me you can do it. Now you got to show me you can do it every time.
Yeah.
So either way for Coach Miller, this game's kind of a win-win. So I'll give it to you. I say they win by 20. But I don't care if they do or not. I just think the worst thing
I would just like to see them play. I just want to see them play well. But my thing is this. From looking at South Florida, if they do all the things we want to see, it should be a 20-point win. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and the throw in just
even if they don't shoot the ball well. Because South Florida is they average 60 points a game in their 3 games. They don't shoot the ball real well. They got a kid by the name of De Silva who's a forward who averages 14 a game. They got Terrence Samuel who's a decent guard averaging 12. But I just see this as an opportunity where if they do play well, I don't see how this could be a 5-point game.
Well, yeah, maybe you're right. The one thing you have to remember, too, is this. Anytime anybody sees Indiana come into their gym, it's the biggest game of the season for them, all right, especially these non-conference games like this. South Florida's not going to play anybody any bigger, famous, with more prestige than they're going to play Indiana this year, unless they get in the dance and end up with Duke, because they're a 16 seed and Duke's a number 1 seed. That's it. So I guarantee you South Florida's going to be up for this game, too. And most likely, as was in the case many times when I played, when every IU team see play, when you do these things, you get their best shot, okay, which you're going to get South Florida's best shot. Now, probably their best shot's not good enough to beat Indiana, even as we sit today, but you're going to get their best shot. So, again, we're crying over spilled milk here as far as I'm concerned. I give you 20 points. I'll give you that one. But I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Just just fundamentally grow from where we did against Seton Hall. That's all I'm going to talk about on our next broadcast. So I'm going to harp on either applaud or cry over the fact that we either did grow or we didn't grow, or we sustained or we didn't sustain.
All right, guys. So make sure you check out.
And that's all I got to say to that.
And then check out me and Steve after the game Sunday night at some point on thegruelingtruth.net. Steve, you got any final comments?
Yeah, I got one question for you. And we talked about this at the beginning of the show. Mike and Mike are retiring from ESPN after 18 years. What the heck are they going to retire to? They get up
I don't know.
Morning,
maybe they'll just talk to each other while they watch the games now.
They watch TV. They watch sports. They eat
and they talk about
donuts.
it for 3 hours in the morning, Monday through Friday.
And then they're gonna retire, and they're gonna go home, read the sports page, follow up on it, rip on the guys that are doing the show because they don't know half of what Mike and Mike think they know. Why in the world would anybody ever retire from that job? They got to be making more money than God. Well, they've been on for 18 years.
They're making pretty good money for they probably work 15 hours a week. Because you know this, unlike us, they've got interns and stuff looking stuff up and sending them notes and stuff to read off of.
Yeah, yep. They just
so it's not like that they're there, studying, getting up at 3 in the morning studying for a 9 o'clock show. I mean, that doesn't happen. So
there's a little intern sitting there with the scores of every game and the highlights of every game and the one-liners to talk about. And
plus I think they take like a month or two off, too, there in the year, don't they?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I mean, when NASCAR season's on, they probably take that time off because they don't probably
There's still a NASCAR season?
Yeah, last game, big race. Championship will be decided this Sunday in Homestead. Be there or be square.
Yeah, pretty exciting.
My boy Chase Elliott got screwed royally by Denny Hamlin.
Chase Elliott, is he in relation to Bill? I remember Bill Elliott.
That's his son.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
See, I stopped watching it once there weren't as many fights between the drivers because I watched it like 79 Daytona. No. You see Cale Yarborough out there throwing down. But but all the guys now look kind of like, they look soft.
Yeah, what I saw Jeff Gordon and Matt Kenseth get into a fight one time. And I looked at my wife and I said, there's nothing in the world like watching 250-pound multimillionaires bitch slapping each other with with racing helmets on. That's what I would call championship wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you're getting Floyd Mayweather at 150 pounds.
But they fight with their cars. They bang and rub. So don't knock NASCAR till you tried it.
I didn't knock it. I just said I used to like it. Now I don't. I used to like professional wrestling until I became like 10, and then now I don't.
Yeah, I'll watch the Ric Flair special on the 30 on 30. It's pretty good. So,
I've never seen a 30 on 30 that wasn't good.
Yeah.
They can make anything entertaining.
Yeah. Huh? Yeah, I agree.
I haven't watched the one on rugby and cricket and was entertained.
Okay, well, I just watched ESPN in 1979, which is all they had was rugby and cricket. That's all they could get on.
Well, they taped the late of like Maine against Buffalo in college basketball. And now all they have is a bunch of loudmouths trying to stir up stuff during the day. So
yeah, I know. Talk shows. I know. Everybody's got an opinion, don't they? You know what Coach Knight say about opinions?
Yep.
Figure it out.
I know. I think everybody knows it, but it might include a bad word, so we're going to let it go.
We're going to let it go.
Because I've already had people sending me messages saying to make sure I keep your language toned down, so I've been able to so far.
There you go. My takeaway here is not so much how much they win by, is how well do they play to the potential in this game. It's a down tick a little bit in terms of opponents played, obviously, from Seton Hall. They demonstrated to me Seton Hall they can play with a ranked team. I thought they were in that game for the better part of the whole game, except the last 3 or 4 minutes where time just ran out on them to make a comeback. That's the way I look at it. Not so much them getting blown out. Time just became a factor, and since they ran out of time to have a chance to make a comeback. I still think they probably had a chance to, but they just ran out of time. So, but they set some really good baselines. They ran an offense. They controlled tempo of the game for the first half. They played tough physical defense inside as well as they could for the personnel they have. They need to continue to control and bring down their turnovers to not give the opponents the opportunity to score as often. I'll turnovers. They need to become better help side defense. They do those things, and we talk about those things as a big improvement after the South Florida game. I don't care what score the game is. I really don't.
Very good. I want to remind everybody you can catch us after every IU game, previewing the next game, reviewing the game which is just played. You can go to thegruelingtruth.net, find all of our shows, all of our information. You can also go on there and click the mybookie.ag banner, which will take you there, which will give you a 50% bonus up to $3,000. You can hear all the shows on iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn. And, Steve, we have a Twitter page now. You want to tell everybody about that?
We now have an active Twitter page. It is Grueling Hoops, at Grueling Hoops. We will begin to fill content, everything on there. About any comments, we'll answer any questions, any comments. We welcome your feedback. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, please, let's debate it. I'd be happy to do it over Twitter. And who knows, we do plan to go live. We do plan to have question and answer sessions. Hopefully sometime around the Duke game, if we can get my liquored up producer over here to learn how to work the equipment, we'll be able to go live. Aren't you the producer?
We could use a producer. Obviously not, or we'd already be live.
You're right there. Yeah. I'm thinking of what Peyton Manning said about.
So if anybody wants to help out and help produce the show, just hit us up at Grueling Hoops.
There you go. What fun and games. But, we do have a Twitter page now, so it is at Grueling Hoops. And we will begin to put the radio shows up on that site for you to listen to, as well as all the other sites you can take it up on. I'll check it routinely because I have nothing to do but read Donald Trump's tweets on Twitter. And we'll go from there. And we'll hopefully build a followership there as well. So, Mike,
all right, remember you can catch. What was that?
I just said thanks for the opportunity again. I was really pleased with the Seton Hall game. Yeah, they stepped up their game, and I won't change my predictions about getting to 500 for the year until I see a sustained effort on the effort that they gave against Seton Hall. So I downgraded a little bit based on the first three games, but it was 3 games set that made me want to think maybe we're not as good as I thought we were going to be, or maybe our goals were a little unrealistic. Show me the effort that you gave me against Seton Hall against South Florida. Show it to me again. So I think we play a team from Alabama after that, don't we?
I think we play Arkansas State, and then we play Eastern Michigan next Friday. That's Wednesday, Friday.
Eastern Michigan will be, they'll go into 2 pretty tough games. Duke and Eastern Michigan. Eastern Michigan is a quality basketball program for what it is. And then obviously Duke, and then from there we head into the Big Ten. So they better be sustaining effort by the time we hit the Big Ten, because wins and losses do matter in the Big Ten. I mean, they matter for more than just, the glitz and the glamour and the packaging that goes with college basketball.
All right, guys. Also, remember, you can download the app on iTunes for The Grueling Truth. You get all of our shows, the baseball, football, basketball, all the content we have, even hockey. No NASCAR yet, but if anybody out there wants to do a NASCAR show, hit us up at Grueling Hoops, and maybe we can hook you up there. So for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends